My God. Syphon Filter.
Yes, it's quite remarkable. A virus genetically programmable to eliminate anyone or anything.
Gabriel Logan. The man you call when Solid Snake and Sam Fisher are both busy. If you can't contact James Bond, can't afford Agent 47, and can't deal with the shaky cam of Jason Bourne, Gabe is your go-to guy for world-saving shenanigans. But how good were his games? Welcome, I'm Josh Dreyfus, and today we're going back to 1999, setting our taser on maximum and saving the world in the third-person action-adventure game Syphon Filter. I'll be completing all of the levels, finding a few of the hidden secrets, and then having nightmares about that goddamn helicopter boss, and then finally asking the simple question, Syphon Filter, was it any good? As usual, a massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. More information on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. Appearing on official PlayStation demo disc number 47, Syphon Filter was the latest in a strangely localized wave of story-focused stealth action games. Releasing 5 months after Metal Gear Solid and 9 months before James Bond Tomorrow Never Dies, Syphon Filter began life in a rather awkward place. Metal Gear Solid took the world by storm and became an instant system seller, so people had already bought that. And James Bond Tomorrow Never Dies had name recognition and was riding the incredible hype wave of being the successor in both game and film to GoldenEye, so people were waiting to buy that. This somewhat made Syphon Filter the middle child, the forgotten one of the stealth-driven action gaming trio. Syphon Filter also existed in an era where physical game sales mattered, and releasing in February means it missed the vital Christmas window. Metal Gear Solid dominated last year, James Bond would dominate next. And while it's absolutely a well-made game with some cracking systems that we'll be fully exploring, its release window did not give it the best chance of success. Developed by Eidatech, now known as Bend Studios, Syphon Filter wasn't their first game. Oh no, these guys were an experienced gaming studio. What had they made before, you ask? They had made Bubsy 3D. Now, for those of you not aware of retro gaming culture, Bubsy 3D was a PlayStation 1 game released in 1996 designed to compete in the platforming space against Mario 64, and has since gone on to be known as one of the worst video games ever made. So this was not a well-respected team, and when they started working on Syphon Filter, the team even admitted they had no experience in making a third-person spy shooter. So no one was expecting Syphon Filter to be anything special. Now, however, Syphon Filter is the 24th highest rated PlayStation 1 game on Metacritic and the 51st best-selling PS1 game of all time, selling just shy of 2 million copies. It would see enough success to become a franchise, releasing Syphon Filter 2 in 2000, 3 in 2001, the Omega Strain in 2004, Dark Mirror for the PSP in 2006, and Logan's Shadow in 2008, which released originally for the PSP and was then ported to the PS2 and PS Vita. Logan's Shadow and Dark Mirror even had online multiplayer, which was enhanced with the Combat Ops expansion. Unfortunately, all of the online servers were shut down in 2012. So let's boot it up and get playing. Now, while I'm going to have many positive things to say about Syphon Filter, it's not without faults, the largest two faults being the overwhelming narrative with very little setup or explanation, and the atrocious voice acting, both of which make up the opening cutscene.
They are coming. Go, torch it. Burn it all.
But what about the serum?
Leave nothing. Now I will show you how I deal with informants. Finish him.
With pleasure.
These are the coordinates Ellis sent.
Over there.
It's Ellis. Executed. Leon, you find anything?
The place is torched. I don't know what they were growing, but it wasn't narcotics.
Romer knew we were coming.
So what's our next move?
We watch for the next viral outbreak. We won't have to wait long.
Logan's report was clear enough.
I want 2 additional teams assigned to this. Find Romer.
I understand.
Logan is my best agent. What do you want to do?
Nothing. We will wait. We will wait and see what he can discover.
So let's just talk about the cutscenes and the voice acting within them, because there are a lot of them, and I'm going to show you all of them, because if I had to suffer them, so do you. First off, the acting. It is bad. There is so much cheese and ham, if we threw in some bread, we'd have a sandwich. In fact, if you look up the voice acting cast, the Syphon Filter franchise was the only project the vast majority of these guys worked on. The only guy with a picture, Doug Boyd, voicing the bad guy Roma, has a few more credits to his name, including Duke in the PS1 launch game Battle Arena Toshinden. So they didn't find success in acting. But it's not just the acting, it's a brilliant mix of terribleness with mic quality, room ambience, and editing. Everyone sounds like they're recording on a different microphone from a different distance with different settings. Everyone has a different volume, and the timings between the lines is dire. Ideally, you want the whole cast recording together so conversations sound natural, but this isn't always possible. So you sometimes have actors record lines, multiple of the same line with different endings and inflections, and then the editor puts them together to sound natural. Normally, you'd leave a little gap between the end of one line and the start of another to give the audience time to take in what a character said and allow the other character to process it before responding. But Syphon Filter is having none of that. Characters reply instantly. Just listen to how unnatural the flow of conversation sounds.
When does the operation begin?
Our intelligence within the FBI was not clear, but Romer's men are already inside the subway.
Is it the same virus?
Yes, enough to eliminate everyone within 100 miles or more.
We'll hear more fantastically bad acting later. For now, we need to go through training, and this is honestly one of the laziest ways you can do a tutorial. Instead of integrating it into gameplay, like Soul Reaver did, or having a playable, safe opening area so you can get to grips with controls like Tomb Raider, you just have an instructional video.
Gabe, this is a quick primer on the basic controls you need to complete your mission. Pay attention and you might stay alive. Use your D-pad to move around the environment. By pressing L1 in conjunction with the D-pad, you can aim your weapons for accurate fire. Different weapons have different aim modes. When aiming with the sniper rifle, you can hit the triangle button to zoom in and the circle button to zoom out. Tap the select button to quickly switch to the next weapon.
I like to think this is how the agency trains all of their elite spies. Instead of obstacle courses or weapons training, they just sit everyone in a room with a 5-minute video and then start sending them off on missions. So let's go.
I've got an ID match for Romer on level 1. Tier 2 is on level 2. No location yet for Kravitz, and I don't see any sign of air moth.
Copy. I'm on my way.
We are Gabriel Logan, an elite spy with some top secret government agency, or some agency that works with the government but not part of the government. Now, the game doesn't do a very good job of explaining who you are or the plot, so here's my best attempt. Gabe and partner Leanne were investigating some biological outbreaks connected to the group Black Baton, led by a guy called Eric Romer. The virus outbreaks happened around the world, and then Romer threatens Washington, D.C., so Gabe is sent in to locate Romer and the virus bombs. Honestly, the narrative refers repeatedly to characters we've never met and tries to get you invested emotionally into a plot we've only heard in passing. So when inevitably people in our own agency turn out to be traitors, you don't care because you have no reason to care. This is basically every Tom Clancy novel blended up into a fine paste and poured into a VHS box set of James Bond topped with a Metal Gear umbrella. But the gameplay, however, is great. Syphon Filter is a third-person action game, D-pad to run around. If you're standing still and press left and right, you'll turn, but if you turn while running, Gabe takes the widest turning angle he possibly can. L2 and R2 are strafe, and while there is a slight input delay on any movement command, you do get used to it quite quickly. Holding X crouches, which is useful for hiding behind things or shooting more accurately while locked on. Crouching and moving lets you sneak, and there are stealth mechanics like noise and light and enemy vision, but you as a player have no way of knowing what they are or what status they are in. You don't know you're being too loud until an enemy spots you, so you just have to kind of guess. Holding R1 will lock on to the nearest enemy, and square will shoot whatever weapon you have equipped. While locked on, the camera keeps that enemy focused, and your movement is now relative to that lock-on point, which makes running while shooting really easy. Locking on can be done while moving, but for more accurate shooting you'll want to hold L1, which zooms you into a first-person mode and lets you move the crosshair around manually. You can still duck and stand while zoomed in, and placing your shots allows you to get headshots. shoot switches, or shoot padlocks. Holding L2 or R2 while in manual aim mode leans to either side, letting you line up headshots around corners or duck around cover. Circle rolls, which is useful for dramatically diving into cover and resetting your danger meter, which we'll look at in a minute. Triangle is a multi-function button which causes some issues. It's reload, but it's also activate switches and activate lifts and open doors and climb onto objects and jump, all depending on context. So if you're hiding behind a ledge and press triangle to reload, instead you'll climb up onto the ledge. This is a great example of how binding context-specific actions to the reload button is a bad idea. So let's talk combat. Gabe has access to a wide selection of weapons. Pressing select cycles to the next one. Holding select opens up the scroll menu, allowing you to manually choose what you want. Different weapons work better in different scenarios, so choose your favorite weapon and run into battle and let Syphon Filter introduce its very strange danger system. While an enemy has you in their sights, the danger meter will build up. It builds up faster if there are more enemies or if you are closer to a more dangerous enemy. Until that meter is full, you cannot be hit. You won't be damaged even if bullets are flying at you. Think of it like a countdown to incoming damage. Now, rolling can reduce the danger meter or prevent it from filling as quickly. Getting into cover and hiding behind an object will reset the danger meter entirely. This means in Syphon Filter, you always know when you're about to take damage. You know how much time you've got standing in the open or leaning around a corner. The combat is therefore a balance between lining shots up either manually or with lock-on, taking enemies out and then diving for cover to reset that danger meter before you are eating a hail of bullets. If the danger meter does fill up and the enemies are still shooting you, you'll start taking damage. Your first line of defense is your flak jacket, which acts as your armor. Once this is depleted, you'll start losing health, and you lose health a lot faster than flak jacket armor. If you do find another jacket lying around or in an equipment box, your armor will be refilled. But here is a super cool design touch. Enemies wear flak jackets as well. In fact, whenever you shoot at an enemy, you'll have a little label pop up showing you that they are wearing one. And what this means is you need to focus on headshots. Trying to burn down an enemy's armor takes time and a lot of ammunition, but headshots are always one-hit kills. And you'll always know when you've got a headshot lined up because the little headshot label will pop up. And here's my favorite touch. If you kill an enemy wearing a flak jacket, they will drop their jacket, and you can pick it up to refill your own. But the amount it refills is equal to the amount the enemy themselves had left. So if you take the brute force approach and destroy the enemy's flak jacket and then kill them, you'll get nothing. If you take your time, line up a headshot and take them out in one, they will effectively drop a full armor restore. This is lovely design because not only is it respecting the flak jacket, having it apply the same to you and to the enemy, it's encouraging and rewarding high-skilled headshot-based gameplay while also not denying the classic run-and-gun style. Headshots aren't the only location-based damage. Zooming in with a sniper actually tells you which part you're aiming at, and if you're accurate enough, you can even shoot weapons out of enemies' hands. There's even a narrative-driven set piece where you can do this to advance the story. As for weapons, you have a selection: the classic silenced pistol, machine guns, shotguns, grenade launchers, sniper rifles, gas and fragmentation grenades, and they're all pretty fun in their own right. But there is one Syphon Filter weapon which stands head and shoulders above the rest for lethality, for utility, for pure, unadulterated fun. If you've played this game, you will remember the taser. The taser has unlimited ammunition and apparently unlimited range. It fires out a wire which, when connecting to the enemy, tasers them. Now the wire is actually a 3D projectile in the game world and you need a clean shot. Trees or the edges of buildings can get in the way. And sometimes because the taser needs to keep prolonged contact to work and the wire wiggles during the attack, it can clip into an object during the attack and disconnect before fully working. Now the taser's quite interesting. If you tag an enemy with the taser and hold shoot to tase them, you only need 2 or 3 seconds to incapacitate them. But if you just keep holding the attack button down, you'll set them on fire and they'll scream. There are entire levels where you have access to machine guns, sniper rifles and grenades, and you will instead opt to only use the taser because it is fun. Now the taser does have a weakness. If the enemy is wearing any level of flak jacket, the taser cannot connect if you use automatic lock-on aim. But you can still manually aim and go for a taser headshot, that still works. The danger with the taser is it takes a few seconds to kill and you can't move while using it, so if there's a group of enemies it's not the best choice because the other guys will shoot you while you're killing one guy. But if there's only one guy left, my god, it is absolutely always the best choice. The first mission drops us into the city to find some bombs. Each level is a self-contained arena with multiple objectives to complete within it. While the start and the end is stable, the order you complete the objectives is often up to you. Quite similar to GoldenEye. Pausing the game brings up the map and each objective is listed and some of them have the locations shown, so you've got limited help in navigation. Some objectives like find an NPC need you to explore or find a trigger location to trigger the next bit of the objective. I like this. It gives a level of freedom with a backup of directions to fall back on. Every now and again you'll be prompted to press triangle to contact Leanne, either to be given new objectives or hints at where to go. It's not essential that you answer these, it's just thematic. And now an interesting touch which adds a layer of discoverability. Some parts of the level are extremely dark, and you have a torch. Now normally the darkness hides equipment or secrets, but you can only see some objects if you have your torch equipped. Now the torch appears in your items cycle menu, but it does not appear when you equip stuff through single tap quick change, meaning you always need to manually go and equip the torch. This will matter even more later on. Here's a nice touch. You can shoot out the light bulbs, which reduces the chance enemies will see you. This is very Splinter Cell. Or you can shoot beer bottles, which is a small graphical touch which makes the world feel more real. Metal Gear Solid 2 did this, but Syphon Filter did it years before. Things like this don't affect mechanical gameplay, but they do affect emotional involvement within the gameplay. They affect enjoyment, because a player will think, oh, I wonder if I can do this. And when they discover they can, there's a smirk, a smile, almost a moment of, well played developers, well played. Plus, if you're in a shootout in a bar and there are beer bottles exploding and glass flying everywhere, it just feels much more immersive. As for movement, while Syphon Filter doesn't have a jump button, it does have a context-based jumping movement linked to triangle. You can vault up onto ledges, and if there's a surface above you, you'll jump up and climb onto it. If there's a bar, you can hang on and shimmy across. You can even shoot while hanging because Gabe has never ever skipped arm day. This whole climb and hang bit is actually a secret and gets us the grenade launcher. Personally, I think it's somewhat dangerous to just leave a grenade launcher lying around in a box in an alleyway, but this city clearly has problems. There is a locked gate. No problem, shoot the lock off, and that is definitely some GoldenEye inspiration right there. Now you'll notice a small minimap to the bottom left. There's a solid line around the outer edge which always points north. The enemies will show up as small dots. Now it's not super useful as it's far too zoomed in, but it can help you avoid firefights with groups of enemies. And now an important question. Does the grenade launcher AoE kill me as well? Yes, it does. So when you die, you'll either respawn at the start of the level or at the last checkpoint you reached. Checkpoints are normally directly after achieving any objective or any of the smaller steps within a larger objective, like shooting this computer. You do have unlimited lives, so there's no game over or continue screens. You'll just keep playing until you win, because Syphon Filter understood home consoles are not arcade machines, and there's no reason to limit the amount of tries a player can have, because you cannot make a player pay more money for more lives. Now checkpoints are useful because enemy spawns are all on triggers. Reaching a room spawns enemies outside it or behind you. Completing an objective has you get attacked. Enemies do not exist within the level until you trigger the event to spawn them in, and this can sometimes be quite jarring. You can completely clear a room of enemies, reach the other side, and suddenly more just pop into existence. What does surprise me is once you get the moving, rolling, locking on and shooting down, once you understand how the danger meter can be manipulated, you end up feeling very cool very quickly. And this is probably Syphon Filter's greatest strength. It feels like you're playing through a mid-1990s action film. Every single level in this game would work as the final climactic moment in a summer blockbuster, and everyone is paced so well, with just enough combat, exploration, and discovery. You'll never feel overwhelmed or exhausted. I have, however, discovered one issue with the taser. If it's an intense indoor firefight with both good and bad guys around you, you can sometimes tase someone, which will make them drop to their knees and look a little bit well, enthusiastic. What a way to die. Eventually, we reach the subway service elevator. The power is off and we need to find the switch. This means more use of the torch. It's moments like this, the downtime between the intensity, which help keep the pace, because the downtime isn't meaningless. You're still doing something to advance the plot, it's just more practical detective and agent work, less special forces shooting stuff. Head down into the subway and enjoy a nice shootout behind the train cars and around the central pillars. The level design is nicely different, from the open streets and closed-in bar of above to the long narrow sightlines of the tunnels with the danger of the train cars below. Syphon Filter's level design is all in all terrific, and I like how when you find the bombs, you don't disarm them yourself, you tag them for the bomb squad to come in and deal with later. That's delegation within an action game. Yeah, you're a hero, but you know when to let a specialist deal with it. That's a lovely touch which helps almost humanize Gabe. We need to get to the lower levels of the subway, but the gates are closed. This means finding a way around, so we head into this gorgeously lit red tunnel to an elevator, and I suppose this is a good time to bring up the color palette, because it's extremely varied and isn't afraid to be vivid, and I love this. So many gritty shooters go for the muted browns or drab greens and greys. This has been a general design push toward melancholy in color in general, but Syphon Filter did not do that. It absolutely designed the buildings, the floors and walls, to look drab and dilapidated, but then it always contrasts the dullness with lashings of bright vivid colors. The flickerings of the flames, the bright red alarms, the piercing train headlights barreling past you. Even the yellow warning signs are brighter than they need to be, because it's not about having a realistic warning sign covered in grime. It's about having a visually interesting level without being overwhelmingly oppressively dull or too intensely colourful. It's colour balanced like a film. And this contrast even applies in a rather meta way to the UI. Your target lock-on and enemy map indicators are both striking neon green, and your own player map is a gorgeous electric blue in the menu. And both of these colour choices actually match the box art of the game, green and blue. While the green aiming marker is probably a practical choice to help it stand out against the different level designs, it's also managed to become iconic. I see green target lock-on, I think Syphon Filter. This design choice of having a more generic coloured background punctuated by intense dashes of colour also applies in a similar way to the sound design. Each level has background music, but it's soft. It's a mix of area ambience and emotional electro beats for the open firefights, low strings and gentle drums for the stealth sections, and violins and slapping bass lines for the James Bond style espionage. So each level has music, but the sound effects are much louder. Gunshots, explosions, reloading, enemies shouting. And much like using bright colours to pierce the realistic background, sound effects pierce the background music. The whole effect means when you are exploring and thinking, it's realistic, visually calm and quiet. But when the action starts, everything suddenly becomes heightened and intense. The flashes of the gunshots, the piercing sound of the bullets whizzing past you. It keeps each fight special, and because it doesn't completely break away from the overall visual or audio design, it means each fight still feels like it's taking place within the same calm world you were just in. Basically, Syphon Filter knows how to make you feel calm when nothing is happening, and then ramp it up to 11 when stuff does happen, and then back to calm without breaking immersion, and it does it every single level. End of the subway, and it's here I meet my nemesis, the single most dangerous thing in the entire game. The grenade. Grenades have a short fuse and a big blast radius, and until you notice them and roll away quickly, you are dead. Remember Mr. Grenade, because we'll be seeing him again. A lot. The sniper rifle's pretty cool though. Headshots are instant kills, even on tougher enemies or bosses. One bullet to the dome drops anything, and then goddamn grenades! Oh, I'm gonna come to hate these, aren't I? Finally find the final bomb in the subway, and oh no, there's no time. The bomb squad are too far away. This one, we need to disarm for ourselves. Are we good enough?
I'm setting a beacon. Wait. Leon, this one's different from the others. It has a shorter timer, and it looks...
Gabe, that's not viral. It's
Too late!
I very much like the fact that we fail. Drama is conflict, and we are not perfect. Good characterization of Gabe again. The next level is the destroyed subway. Trains are on fire, rubble's collapsing in, and we need to find Roma, one of the enemy leaders. We start with an on-fire enemy running toward us screaming, which isn't exactly a jump scare, but it is a great moment. If you don't kill him before he reaches you, you catch fire and instantly die. In fact, there's a lot of fire in this level, meaning it's much more demanding on specific movement. It's also nice to see grenades are just as dangerous to the enemies as they are to us. Escaping the subway leads us to this excellent climbing bit. Even though Syphon Filter doesn't have jumping, it has still given a lot of thought to the verticality of its levels, from enemies on the roof in the opening to the various floors of later stuff, and it's here, climbing through the subway debris, you begin to appreciate that even if you can't jump, they have not ignored the 3D aspect of level design. Another call from Leanne, and one of my biggest problems, there are so many named characters you're expected to care about, but you've never met them. Syphon Filter does have a story, but it feels like you've started the book halfway in. There's a lot of interpersonal drama that's never set up, and it falls flat because you simply do not care. We're now told there is a single bomb remaining down here, but there's also a gas leak stopping us from leaving or the bomb squad from getting in, so we need to find the gas valve and shut it off, and then find some explosives and clear the rubble from the exit to allow the bomb squad in. Both of these objectives are hard to find. In fact, they're almost impossible unless you equip the flashlight. All important interactable objects are highlighted when you have the flashlight out. And again, it's the clever use of shadows or similar textures to hide things in effectively plain sight. It's another pacing design. Clear the enemies, explore, investigate. I mean, look, you literally cannot see the box of explosives unless you have the flashlight out. If you didn't know these were here, you would never find them. We cover the bomb squad dude as he runs in to defuse the final bomb and then make our way out. Another cutscene shows we've spotted another known bad guy, a girl called Mara. So we chase her down and... How are the trains still running? I thought everything was shut down. This is a terrorist attack. Mara is the first boss. We beat her by just shooting her a lot, and then there's more terrible dialogue. I've not edited this. This is how they wanted the game to sound.
Where's Romer? Where are the other bombs?
You're too late, Logan.
We'll see.
There's more bombs around the city, so we're sent to the park, and this level has a time limit. You've got 20 minutes to find and defuse them all, but that's not the only objective. We are also hunting down some more bad guys and saving some pinned down agents. Now here's a problem I didn't even realise. Your health carries between missions, which of course makes sense in the narrative, but it also means if you finish a mission in super dramatic one health left fashion, as I just did, you are starting the next mission basically dead. The park, however, is lovely. It's night, it's dark, and I suspect this is to cover up the PlayStation 1's limited draw distance over such a large level, but they've enhanced this limitation by adding in a night vision rifle, which lets you creep around, spot the enemies via heat signature, and pop off a headshot or two. Now this level is stressful. From the bombs in the hedges and then defending the bomb squad guys to sneaking around the tennis courts to save some hostages. The darkness and the rain massively reducing visibility, you are feeling the pressure. 20 minutes is more than enough, but you don't know this, so you're constantly pushing yourself forward. With all the bombs done, the timer is cancelled and now we're basically just hunting some bad guys. This level also somewhat becomes Dark Souls as I dodge roll around everyone and anyone. Even in a relatively flat level like a park, they've still thought about adding a vertical element, fighting up this strange modern art sculpture to reach a transmission radar at the top. Such a simple objective. They could have put this on the floor, but they said no. What can we add that is believable and climbable? Because that's a fun thing to do. Chase this final dude through a hedge maze and then head inside the memorial building where a mini-boss called Grideau is hiding. The difficulty here is the dude has a flamethrower, indestructible armor, and a terrible French accent.
Anton Grideau. I hope Romer's paying you enough to die for him.
Gabriel Logan. Always the optimist. Look around, Logan. This hall contains a mosaic depicting the entire history of your country's wars and aggression. We are about to make an addition to it.
I don't think so, Grideau. It ends here.
Boss levels in Syphon Filter are interesting. They're all extremely powerful, but they have weak points that drop them in 1 or 2 hits, so it's less about brute force and more about tactics. Well, until you get to the helicopter. I die a lot to this flamethrower dude until I realise one simple trick. Hide behind a pillar, manually aim, lean out, and snipe the fuel pack. Easy peasy, and now more cutscenes.
Gabe, are you all right?
He's finished, Leon. Get CBDC in here. Tell Benton I need an evac.
Copy that. We've analyzed blood taken from Romer's men. It contains compounds identical to those extracted from the plants taken from Romer's plantation in Costa Rica. Compounds patented by a multinational corporation named Farcom. I checked with our contact in the World Health Organization. Farcom is also coordinating the WHO's efforts to track down these worldwide viral outbreaks.
Romer's not sophisticated enough to run this kind of operation. With that arsenal, he must have an enormous base of operations somewhere. Who's funding him?
I have already had Farcom investigated. The final report was inconclusive.
Whose report? Benton's? The same man who coordinated our botched raid in Costa Rica? The man who got Jenkins' entire team taken out? Where is Benton now?
I've placed him on leave. Now, what do you want to do?
Fagan is hosting a reception at his exhibition center in New York tonight. I've tapped into their security files and accessed blueprints of the entire building.
Fagan doesn't know who I am. I'll go as a guest and plant a remote wire on him. If there's a connection, I'll find it.
All right. Report back to me in 24 hours. But this is not a standard intercept and eliminate operation. If Fagan is involved with Romer, I want them both taken alive. If you do find a mole, eliminate him.
Leon, something's up. Fagan's moving. I'm going to follow him.
But Gabe, his wire is coming in clear.
I know, but I want to be there in case something is going down.
Be careful. If any of his security guards spot you outside of the reception area, Fagan will know you're here.
I won't let anyone see me.
So Fagan and Romer are both bad guys, and we're sent to infiltrate a meeting they're both going to be at. This means suiting up and sneaking into a party being held in a museum, James Bond style. This level opens with stealth, which can feel awkward because you as a player have no visual or audio feedback on how stealthy you are being until it's too late, and then you get spotted. Remember, this released after Metal Gear Solid, so stealth action espionage had a very recent, very high bar set for it. The opening section is about sneaking through various exhibits, avoiding guard patrols and either headshotting them with a silenced pistol or running past when they're not looking. Thankfully, each small section is a checkpoint in itself, so when you do fail, and you will, you're not sent that far back. Getting spotted is an instant loss in this mission. We go through Stonehenge, sniping through a tiny sightline between the rocks, and then through Egypt, going for a headshot in that brief window before the alarm is raised, and finally we reach a secret meeting where it's revealed that Benton is a traitor. Who's Benton? This is what I mean when I say you've skipped the essential narrative step of actually introducing and setting up characters. The revelation of there's a traitor in the organization doesn't hit me when I don't even know what our organization really does. Who's Benton? What are his goals? Is he a sympathetic villain? You're relying on the player's understanding and the emotional connection to the word traitor to do all the heavy lifting for the plot, instead of setting up why anyone is doing anything. Anyway, we fight Benton, who apparently has a flak jacket made of adamantium, because I empty every bullet into him and still can't kill him, so new approach. I wait for a single opening, one headshot, and he dies.
He's finished. Don't send a report to Markinson yet. I want to find out what's going on here.
I'm not spinning the camera, by the way. That's just what the camera does whenever you're in a conversation with Lien, and it gets very nauseating. Grab Benton's card key, push on into the museum, and climb into some air vents and then out into the courtyard. You don't need to be stealthy anymore. Slide down some temple ramp and have a very strong think about health and safety, because this needs a handrail. Oh, another issue. When you die, you often respawn directly next to a triggered enemy spawn, and they'll start shooting you before you get the chance to lock on, so that danger meter is already filling up. Here, you need to push a button and then run to the closing shutters, actually using your roll skill to make it in time. So rolling isn't just a combat trick anymore, it's now an exploration and platforming mechanic tied into timed events. That's nice. This rocket room is a great vertical battle. Walkways above you, an elevator to take you up, pillars to hide behind, just a super fun cinematic moment to fight through. And there's even a cool hidden bit. Pressing the button takes the elevator from the ground floor to the first level or back again. But there is a higher level. But to reach it, you need to shoot the button above. Now this sounds a bit random, but they've actually included both a visual and an audio signal that you should do this. The button above is malfunctioning and showering sparks. It's making a loud buzzing noise, so the player's attention is drawn to it. The game never specifically says, shoot this, but it doesn't hide its significance either. It demands you look at it with bright flashy visuals, and then demands you consider it with loud, annoying audio. It makes you look and then lets you fill in the rest. Nice design. How cool is this? You're on the overlook of the courtyard you were in earlier, but now you have to run past some giant glass windows as they're being shot. This feels like a scene from a Bond film, another cinematic moment. Fight through this moon landing exhibit, climb onto the rover, and clamber up onto the walkway above. More excellent use of vertical puzzles using the actual scenery of the level, and then more multi-height threats, cover, sightlines. You know what? Syphon Filter is just a masterclass in 3D level design and optimizing, making the player feel in danger while being in control of the level of danger. Another call and more intel. Aramav, the girl from the subway earlier, is back. She's hunting down Faken, and while they're both bad guys, we need them both alive. Aramav knows about the bombs in the city and the experimental poison payload they were carrying, codenamed Syphon Filter, and Faken knows where it's being made and sent to. So we enjoy a series of Bond-esque few minutes battling in a tux through a museum, and then I discover one of my favourite things about Gabriel Logan. He absolutely refuses to open a door with his hands. If there is a door, literally any door, Gabe is kicking it open. Hey, we need to get down there, but there's no ladder. Solution? In gameplay, that would kill you, but in cutscenes, the rule of cool applies and you are fine. We have a quick shootout in the dinosaur exhibit, and then a quick gunfight through an aquarium, and eventually we find the two people we need. Mara is holding Fagan at gunpoint and interrogating him. And if you don't do anything and you just wait and listen to the conversation, she'll shoot him and you'll fail the mission.
Tell me where the virus labs are.
I don't know.
Tell me, or I will kill you.
I can't tell you.
Gabe, we needed Fagan alive.
You need to take down Mara non-lethally, which means either shooting the gun out of her hand or using the taser and resisting the urge to set her on fire. Once you've incapacitated her, scramble up the model of the dinosaur and shimmy on over, and I cannot overstate how much I love the various ways they've integrated the scenery into the critical path of the level. We grab our bad guy and learn about Romer's base. There are missiles loaded with Syphon Filter, whatever that is, so we need to sneak in, disable the missiles, and then disable the anti-air defenses of that base so we can be extracted via helicopter. And while we're there, we may as well also kill some dude called Cabrek because he's a bad guy. God, there are so many cliches happening and I am here for it. Yes, it is derivative of action films and cheesy spy adventures of the time, but it's done with such commitment to making each level feel different in obstacle layout, sightlines, critical path, enemy placement, and verticality, you can't help but enjoy the ride. It's not just borrowing the look of the films, it's making sure your experience of the level feels inspired by the films. It's the heart and soul, not just the surface skin. So next mission, infiltrate a snowy base. Locate the fuel tanks, place bombs on them in order to get into the missile silo. Now this is where stealth really comes into its own, and it's impossible to deny the comparisons to the snowy stealth opening of Metal Gear Solid. There is clearly inspiration here. Unfortunately, Syphon Filter leans too much into the trial and error of design. If you get spotted, you can still finish the level, but the alarm will be raised and more guards will start patrolling, and there's no way to reset this once it's happened. So getting spotted can sometimes mean it's best to die and reset the level. Unlike Metal Gear, where being spotted means find a hiding spot and then wait a bit, Syphon Filter's version is deal with the rest of the level being a lot harder. The enemy guards do have cones of vision, hearing, and spotlights around the level are instant spot zones, so shoot the spotlights to move around them easier. This level relies on the trigger point spawning guards mechanic to be difficult. It's not a case of mapping the guards' movements from the start, it's a case of knowing, okay, when I turn this corner, that dude spawns in and will be walking this way. Something I did find out the hard way, if you trigger the alarm and then reach a checkpoint, when you die and get sent back to that checkpoint, the alarm is still triggered. This is a level I'd call the blockbuster renting safeguard. Older games used to be rented, and they'd always have levels in them so difficult they'd be tough to finish in a single weekend, especially 100% perfectly, so you'd pay to rent them longer. This is that level. How effective is it as a renting safeguard? Well, This level does, however, introduce us to gas grenades, stealth instant kill grenades, and the only way to take out a group of enemies all at the same time with none of them raising the alarm. And these grenades will become our best friend. They will even kill our assassination target instantly. Cut the power to a defensive laser grid and sneak into the missile bunker. We need to find data on the missiles and then get to the roof for extraction. This takes us from the open base to a confined tunnel, red laser grids cutting off routes and buttons controlling them all. This is more of a puzzle. Find the button, or in some cases, shoot the button through the lasers, double back on yourself, and make progress. Nothing too complicated, but the music fits this section so damn well, and the blaring alarm is just the right volume. Syphon Filter sounds fantastic. By now, I've mastered the sideways roll into lock-on and shoot, and I actually feel quite capable. The difficulty has been slowly increasing to match my skill level, so not only am I more capable, it's making me smile seeing how the game almost expects that of me and is challenging me to prove it. Unfortunately, I still haven't mastered dodging grenades. At the end of the tunnels, you break into the armory. Weapons and ammunition galore, so I stock up on everything. I am James Bond meets Rambo. I'm carrying enough to kill a building, which will become relevant very soon. You've got no map while you're in the bunker. Thankfully, it's a very simple level layout, so I find all the missiles pretty fast, including this awesome camera angle, watching the missiles raise into position around me before hacking into them and gathering data. And with everything done, we head to the roof and, oh god, the chopper boss begins.
Leon, I'm on the roof. Get ready for evac. Leon, I've triggered the timer and disabled the radar. I'm ready for pickup.
I read you. ETA 4. No, stop! No! Ah!
Dump her body.
Leon?
Rip out all of these controls.
Leon!
Logan, I'm afraid she won't be giving you a ride.
Romer.
But don't worry. I was kind enough to send one of my choppers.
Okay, this boss is a complete nightmare. It's a test of skill, and of conserving ammo, of dodging, but most importantly, of patience. As for plot, Lien, our friend and helicopter pilot, has been shot down and likely killed. Our backup extraction, Markinson, is on his way, but first we need to deal with this attack helicopter enemy. The boss arena is a square arena with a central radar platform. Around the edges you've got 2 boxes with full flak jacket refills and 2 boxes full of machine gun ammo. These boxes do not respawn, so use them sparingly. The first phase of the fight is relatively simple. The chopper will fly over the area and shoot at you as it flies over you. You can avoid most of the damage by rolling toward and through the gunfire at the right time. Then you've got a few seconds to lock on and return fire as it flies away. This phase is pretty simple. It's long, but it's not too challenging. It is, however, the next 2 mechanics that will kill you. After doing enough damage, instead of passing over, the chopper will dip down one side of the building and then slowly rise up on the other. Once it's reached full height, it will absolutely pepper you with shots and kill you. The only way to survive this attack is to hide behind the central pillar and wait for it to stop firing, or to time your dodge rolls almost frame perfectly from corner to corner. The problem with hiding is twofold. First, you won't be doing any damage. You'll have a brief lock-on window when the helicopter flies off, but it's very tight. And secondly, while it's shooting at you like this, it's dropping enemies into the arena. So now you're dealing with machine gun wielding add-on enemies and dodging the helicopter and trying to conserve ammunition. Basically, this fight is an absolute beast, and sometimes it sways a bit into the unfair territory because you can run out of ammo, and then you need to kill the ads using your taser to get their ammunition. So while you can't softlock yourself, you can really screw yourself over if you didn't stock up in the armory or can't conserve ammo from the very start. But finally, eventually, after about half an hour of repeated attempts, you will take it down. With Leanne's original helicopter shot down, we need to get to Markinson, who's waiting for us at the gate. This level is an exact reverse of the original level to sneak in, but now you just need to run to the end. In a nice touch, you can actually see the helicopter you've just shot down in this level. This is another moment where health maintained between missions hurt me, because I'm starting on very low health. And eventually, we'll get a cutscene where more of the plot is revealed.
My God. Syphon Filter.
Yes, it's quite remarkable. A virus genetically programmable to eliminate anyone or anything. Imagine a weapon that could target specific demographics, ethnic groups, that could wipe out whole continents, except for those chosen to survive.
The outbreaks we've been tracking.
Tests, evidently. We've traced Fagan to this abandoned cathedral. According to Mara, this is Romer's stronghold, a place where he keeps prisoners. Undesirables. Alec Kabanoff runs the site for Romer. It kept Fagan supplied with human test subjects for various forms of the virus. Now Fagan is being held prisoner himself, probably somewhere in the catacombs.
Has Interpol found any trace of Mara?
Since her escape, she has left a trail of dead bodies from our lab to Eastern Europe. Now, she has vanished. There is also no sign of Romer. The destruction of his base has driven his entire organization underground. We have found and destroyed all Farcom labs involved in the production of the virus, but we could not find the computers they were using for the viral DNA sequencing. You have to get their location from Fagan. Your team...
I don't want a replacement for Leon.
You don't get one. I'll be taking you into the strike zone myself. Our labs have been able to synthesize a very small amount of vaccine. Give one shot to any test subjects you find. Radio me as soon as you find Fagan.
Okay, let's do it.
So Syphon Filter is the code name for a genetically programmable biological weapon which could be dropped on a city, do no damage to the infrastructure, and only kill very specific people or select demographics of people. That is a terrifying idea for a weapon. The data we have gathered gives us the location of a research lab, a secret facility underneath an expansive chapel. So we are airdropped onto this church roof and told to make our way to the test chambers and administer an experimental vaccine to the subjects being held here. The opening of this level is great, a vertical maze of spires, walkways and buttresses giving us some beautiful sight lines to the ground and introducing one of my favourite enemy designs, monks with shotguns. This level is relatively long, but once you're on the ground, you make your way through the glass-fronted lab sections. I love how the ancient and medieval design of the old archaic church contrasts so strongly with the clean, clinical design of the modern labs. When I say Syphon Filter is a 90s action movie, this is what I mean. Secret lab hidden under a church is the exact thing some screenwriter would have come up with. The scientists themselves will cower from you because most of them aren't armed, but you still need to kill them. Don't feel sorry for them, they did this. The patients, the test subjects for the accuracy of Syphon Filter, are shambling around like zombies, so we inject them with some vaccine and move on. It seems to work. I'm sure this is fine. This level is mostly doors, so Gabe's legs are having an absolute kick-based field day. This shootout across a church balcony was absolutely awesome, and then completely by accident I realised you can shoot chandeliers onto enemies, and this isn't just a one-off. There are sections you need to climb over boxes and drop down, but you'll drop down into an ambush, unless you shoot the chandelier first and crush the ambush beforehand. This shows not only have they put in a badass mechanic, they've actually made using it massively rewarding, which encourages the player to do it. The firefights continue through a library and then up and over a church roof. Every room is a well-designed spiral of a route, and there are very few set-piece rooms where you take a simple or dull route. It's always up a ledge, over a crossbeam, behind a box. It is packed with movement. What I'm impressed with so far is how many feelings Syphon Filter has. The first level feels like you're a special agent on a city street. It feels fast and brutal. And then you're in the subway and it feels claustrophobic and survival based. And then you're a suave, stealthy secret agent. And then you're in a shootout in a museum, and then an invisible ghost sneaking into a missile compound, a badass action hero taking down a helicopter, and now you're Doctors Without Borders with machine guns. It's managing to capture a load of emotions in each level, which helps make Gabe Logan feel versatile and experienced as a character. This level perfectly balances intense moments with calm moments and switches between them seamlessly. You're never bored, and you're never exhausted. The next level is basically identical. More church, more labs, more scientists, and more great design. They probably realised they had a good idea here and couldn't fit it all into one, so made two, which is fine because it was fun. Eventually we learn even more about this organisation's plans. The Syphon Filter virus is not sent via missile. It's transported inside dead patients' bodies. They're not just test subjects, they're payloads. The infected are the weapon. So we need to hunt down all the infected bodies and neutralise the virus inside them. I love this moment specifically. The shockwave from an enemy grenade shatters the glass of the lab room that I'm in. It's small touches like this, enemy attacks interacting with the environment, which makes games much more immersive. It's not graphics, it's mechanics. Reach the top of the church and we need to get out. We are being chased. There's a giant stained glass window in front of us, so there's only one possible answer. Leaping through the giant window gets us into the graveyard, and this is so far the only part I feel hasn't lived up to its potential. It's this very short section with some gravestones. I feel a shootout behind gravestones would have been a really nice moment. It's not a bad moment by a long shot, it's the only moment I've thought it would have been nicer to spend more time here. I'm also noticing a lot of zigzag corridors and realising the game is using these to hide loading screens. On this series I've also reviewed Croc, which has these small self-contained sections linked via doors and black loading screens. While Syphon Filter feels massive for a PlayStation 1 game, and it's simply because the entire level isn't loaded in at once. The church is extravagant, very vertical, texture heavy, lots of enemies, but these corridors keep it segmented and keep the action flowing. Eventually we get told to follow this guard into Romer's base and are informed our agency has cut contact with the state. So we're kind of operating outside of government approval here. If anything goes wrong, we're on our own. This is one of the hardest missions because of a bug. If you're too quick or too slow following this guy, the trigger for the door sometimes just doesn't happen, meaning you can softlock yourself. Finally, we find a dude we're looking for and give the worst interrogation of all time.
Please, don't kill me.
Just relax. This won't hurt a bit.
I'll pay you. How much do you want? Thank God.
Shut up, Fagan. Move. I have him.
Give him 30 seconds to give you the location of the computers, then eliminate
No,
him.
wait a minute. You don't understand. You
Thousands
don't...
of people are dead, Fagan, because of you. 20 seconds.
Wait, you don't understand.
Time's up. Where are the sequencing computers?
An abandoned Soviet missile silo in Kazakhstan, beneath an old warehouse district, all right? All right?
Did you copy that?
Copy. I've got a strike force ready to move in. Get to the evac point. I'm sending in a retrieval unit.
What about Fagan?
Take him with you.
Let's go.
Wait, let me go. Your partner, she's alive.
Leon? You're lying. Move.
She is alive. Romer's men brought her here 5 days ago.
I don't believe you.
Promise to let me go, and I'll lead you to her.
Show me.
So our old friend Lien is alive, but being held here somewhere. We need to follow Fagan to find her. And so begins the escort mission, or as I end up calling it, Headshot Alley. The catacombs are all tight corridors with long sight lines filled with dangerous enemies just around every corner, all of them wearing flak jackets and all of them with machine guns. This means headshots and quick headshots are your only realistic method of killing them fast enough to not run out of ammo and keep both of you alive. Annoyingly, Fagan seems to have a death wish as he jumps in front of your shots and enemy shots often. This section is long and samey, and you could probably halve the length of this level and it would feel better for it. After 5 minutes of this, it's just 10 minutes more of the same. Eventually we find Lien. She has been infected with Syphon Filter and our vaccine won't work against it as it needs to be designed to counter every specific type of Syphon Filter. So we head back to the base base. Escorting Leanne is at least easier. She has a gun and can defend herself. However, her sense of direction is terrible, as she will run all around a room before leaving it or take 3 left turns when a single right turn would have done. Escape with Leanne and meet up with the terrorist Mara from the first level, who is on our side now, enemy of my enemy and all that. So now we're off to the hidden missile silo mainframe, which is within this warehouse complex. It seems there's a bit of a civil war going on between Roma and Fagin, both of them wanting to control the Syphon Filter, so we can use this to our advantage and sneak past the multiple firefights all happening unnoticed. Now, you can choose to get involved, but you don't have to, and I quite like this design. It reflects our agency being ignored by the government earlier. We are operating outside the law on a global scale, but also outside of being noticed on a smaller personal scale. This is the third man level. We are the hidden faction working for the greater good of the silent majority. Rush through and find some guy called Erickson. He provides us some more information. The bodies infected are in boxes. You can kill him after this chat if you want to. Doesn't affect the mission, just a personal choice. Just make sure you pick up the thermal scope in his office, because like I discovered, you can miss this and go through the entire level, meaning you need to backtrack for it. Using the thermal scope shows which crates have bodies stored in them. We can leave beacons on the boxes for the anti-terror squad to come in after we've left. The scanner can also be used to spot living enemies through walls, which is pretty useful in the maze-like sections of these warehouses. And then finally I get to open a door by shooting a load of explosive barrels in front of it, an iconic action film moment achieved. This level combines excellent designs of all previous open areas, obstacles, vertical bits, but then you've got shimmying across this pipe while being shot at, and the trigger for enemy spawning is grabbing the pipe. So you need to grab it, drop down, and instantly kill them, otherwise they'll turn you into Swiss cheese while you climb across. Oh good, the grenades are back. I'd almost forgotten about them. We tag all the infected bodies and escape into the tunnels below the warehouse. The next level is the same objective. More bodies, more boxes. Except now, the elite Farcom guards are being sent after us. All of them have machine guns, all of them have flak jackets, so headshots are the only thing even worth considering now. We need to find Warehouse 76 and take the freight elevator down to the underground Syphon Filter launching station. But look, this fire flickers cool disco colours onto the wall. Even in the middle of an intense global threat, there's always time for disco. Fight across the rooftops and then through some more well-guarded tunnels, and then another horrifying revelation. Markinson, our backup pilot and the guy who gave us the vaccine that we have been injecting into lab patients, is a traitor. The vaccine wasn't a vaccine, it was simply a lethal injection. We weren't helping those patients, we were killing them to hide the evidence. Okay, this is another example of I don't know Markinson or his motivations enough to care. I also don't know why tricking us into administering a fake vaccine was needed. He's our boss. He could have just said, shoot all the infected because they're dangerous, and we'd have done it without question. This plot point was only done to make Markinson seem evil, but him seeming evil achieves nothing within the narrative. Before we can reach the elevator, there is a massive explosion, and now another timed mission. Navigate through the insta-death fire surrounding us everywhere, climb through the rubble of the destroyed warehouse, and then Spider-Man your way over to the lift. Now, time isn't really a problem here, working out where to go is. This is also the first time you need to roll to get under a stationary small gap, and then these metal walkway panels fall down as we cross them, but the camera remains locked, so you get this super cinematic run across the fire. This is the first time the game has committed to a cinematic camera mode for an in-gameplay moment and not a cutscene. And while it works with the game's overall feel, it feels strangely out of place because it's the only time the game does this. This level is pretty short, just stay calm, climb over the boxes, swing across the pipes, drop down the ledges, and eventually you'll find the lift. Shoot the switch to go down, and prepare for one of the most underwhelming voice acting screams you've ever heard. I guess we're not going back up that way. We are closing in on the final mission. These tunnels start with you being attacked immediately, so dive for cover and return fire. The cave system is lovely. The jagged rock faces are such a contrast to the smooth, flat walls we've been used to, and the darker colour palette pierced by the bright red lasers makes the area unique. It feels like Tomb Raider, but with a taser. We deactivate the lasers by finding this power switch hidden down a beautifully lit tunnel, and I'm back in a movie again, the bad guy's secret underground missile base, and I swear, every time you start really getting into the moment, another goddamn grenade just spawns in out of nowhere. We call the elevator and go even deeper into the cave, and check this bit out. Going down this tunnel causes a cave-in, but the rocks are animated and dangerous. Now this is a small, missable moment. But not many PlayStation 1 games had events like these, moving assets with quickly changing hitboxes. I bet this small moment took developers a lot longer to create than they would like to admit. We find the central power room and need to deactivate the lasers to get further into the base, and we don't know how to do that, so instead we just overload it and blow it all up. I guess that works too. Now the final objective. Reach the very central PC and download the complete Syphon Filter genetic code so we can reverse engineer it and make a complete vaccine for anyone. This means climbing down this beautiful elevator shaft section, using your flashlight to check the paths and ledges below you, dropping onto the mangled iron crossbeams and avoiding the fire as you go. Taking out the power room also killed the cave lights, so we can be stealthy. And there's nothing stealthier than a grenade launcher. As I've said before, if everyone's dead, there's no one alive to say that you weren't stealthy. Now here's a lovely bit of design. You find a night vision sniper rifle, and if you equip it immediately and aim down the tunnel right away, there's an enemy ready for a headshot. Such a simple moment, which brings so much joy. Eventually we get to the main missile itself, but we have a problem. It's set to launch. There's no time to get the codes, we need to stop this launch now. Now this is the last level. And it's rather strange. There's no timer shown on the screen, but the mission is timed. You have about 30 seconds to reach the first objective. Run through the launch rooms, climb the missile scaffolding, and take the abort codes from the missile body itself, all while being shot at. And if you do manage to do this, you are still too late, and Markinson shows up for a quick cutscene. But this next bit is insane. As soon as you have control of Gabe again, you have about 5 seconds to dash to the right and roll through the blast door before the missile launches and you get incinerated. Failing this just makes you replay it again and again and again and again until you get the timing right. With the missile armed and launched, our plans change again. We need to reach the mainframe and detonate the missile when it's high up enough to be essentially harmless. So we have 3 minutes to shoot our way through the guards and scientists and reach the mainframe, and then the final boss turns up. He has a grenade launcher, because of course he does, meaning any hit at all on us is a one-shot kill. This fight is a gimmick. The maze of server racks and Roger's flak jacket means a traditional battle is pointless. You are vastly outgunned. So, as soon as the cutscene ends, mash forward and climb, and you'll vault up onto the servers. Dash through the window in front of you, grab the gas grenades, and quickly throw one. It's a one-hit kill against him. And then you can safely detonate the rocket in the atmosphere and save the world. Cue the credits. So, now we've replayed all of Syphon Filter, we can ask the very simple question, was it any good? I realised while writing this script I only commented once about the camera and about how it felt strange when it did the locked cinematic thing, and this is because the camera works so well I never even realised it was there. You know when something does its job perfectly, you don't notice it? That's the camera in Syphon Filter. As for combat, the weapons are varied and feel unique, not just for damage, but also for situational use. Silenced, explosive, sniper gas, and the immortal taser. The danger system is a nice way of giving you enough time in the open to do some damage, and then encouraging you to dive and roll into cover, encouraging cinematic-style gameplay. The levels are exceptionally well designed, with a thorough understanding of game layouts, sightlines, obstacles, horizontal distance, and vertical sections. The enemies are placed to allow intense shootouts and never feel cheap. The few ambushes you can experience can be mitigated with clever use of interactable scenery or grenades. The levels themselves are all endings of action films and they keep the adrenaline flowing, but they temper the excitement with enough downtime to let you breathe. It is super well paced. Some of the stealth sections can veer a little too close to trial and error, and releasing after Metal Gear Solid, it's never going to receive the stealth-based praise, but it's definitely good enough. Syphon Filter shines when it lets you approach a mission with different weapons in different ways and complete the objectives in different orders, which thankfully is most of the missions in the game. It feels like a mix of the platforming from Tomb Raider, the objectives and gunplay from GoldenEye, and the gritty real-world stealth action story of Metal Gear Solid. and while it never reaches the individual heights of those games in those areas specifically, it definitely hits above average in all of them combined. Its main weakness is the presentation of the plot. It is rushed. The characters aren't given time to breathe or feel fleshed out, and the twists and turns don't carry any emotional impact because we just don't care about them. Gabe himself is a fun character, and we do get moments of him failing, which humanizes him, but he doesn't break away enough from the traditional gruff, tough agency guy, or have any real personal development to be as memorable as Solid Snake, Sam Fisher, Agent 47, or Bond. We like Gabe, but we don't know him. All in all, Syphon Filter is a quality action game well worth your time. You feel like you're in a variety of blockbuster films, and that feeling is quite simply a lot of fun. So to end the review, I'll award Syphon Filter probably the most fun thing you can do in the game, and the thing it's specifically remembered for all these years later. Setting people on fire with the taser, out of 10. Cheers for watching. Another massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter and Discord, and as always, remember...
A few closing bits of advice. If you're outnumbered, run. If you're unnoticed, sneak. And if you've got the shot, take it. Make yourself an easy target for those terrorists and you'll wind up dead.